kind of sort of final is AndreasG in the purple. And at the south base, you can see down here in the picture-in-picture, we've got Headcrab. If you're just tuning in and you haven't seen this map before, it is kind of a funny map where there's basically two big bases, north and south, and then over on the east and west, there are two kind of side expansion areas, and there's essentially a lane, if you will, of travel that can come down each side. And of course, the center lane is reserved for the Air Force. On the other side of the planet, you get a whole lot of nothing, which allows us to keep quite a bit of it in view at all times. Now, we've had quite a long tournament so far. We're in like round 6, I believe, or 7, and Andreas has worked his way up through the losers bracket, having lost only one match, and Headcrab has won everything so far. So excellent work for both of them to get here. If Andreas wins this match, he will then have given Headcrab his first loss. They'll both have one loss each, and we'll have to go on for a second round to determine who the actual winner is.
Yes, indeedy. However, it's all a qualifier for a bigger tournament in a week or so's time, where one of the prizes is the most coveted Theatre Commander plushie. I believe you can't get your hands on these anywhere else.
So we can see that Andreas has started with 4 skitters, a lot of scouting that he wants to do. He probably wants to get vision of like what's going on in the base and then maybe keep track of a couple places. I think last time he put one in the back of the base. Skitter over here on the west side for Headcrab, just checking to make sure that no little sneaky moves happen off on that side. And on the east side, again, same thing. Very thorough scouting by Headcrab. Good job for him.
He could probably leave those both there, actually, if I'm honest, just to keep an eye on it. And then because he's well, I thought he was getting an air factory out second, but that must have been Andreas. But he could have followed it up with a Firefly to go and scout the actual base to see what he was building.
Yeah, it would be really good to leave those scouts there, because then if somebody does sneak off to grab those spots, as Andreas has been known to do in previous matches, then you can notice that right away. And in fact, because the scouting vision range is so much higher than that of the fabricators, it can work out quite well. So we do have a very early Bumblebee bomber coming from Andreas's base into Headcrab's base. 2 fabricators right there working on it, and the Bluey, they are gone just like that. So well done. And he had the 2 anti-air coming out, and he just missed his opportunity.
And even does a little bit of damage to the commander as well, actually. Good shooting.
Yeah, it hits the fabricators and the commander. An excellent point.
So the commander is now down about a 30th of his health.
Yes, well, you know, it adds up. That's one of the things I think that I've noticed, like, with the Tier 1, even the Tier 1 Aventail's tanks, when they come in, it's like they get a few shots off and they keep picking away. It's like you don't really want to let that happen. Though I have seen that some players are used to using, like, recognizing that their commander's health is a resource and that they can use it to make gains. So now he's got the hummingbird following this fabricator, which is pretty funny to look at because he just kind of wanders out slowly by himself, and the fighter is right above it. I like it.
Except when the fabricator sits there for too long, the hummingbird just lands and then doesn't do its job. Here it goes.
Yep. So well, he does have 4 spinners. Meanwhile, up north in the other base, we see quite a bit of production going on. He's actually low on energy by a considerable amount. 3 factories up, 1 of each type. I think the best armies do, in fact, sometimes get made of a mixture of unit types, so I think that's always good to see. And he's working hard on the power plants because of the deficit there.
Headcrab has even got the skitters just sat in the expansions, just keeping an eye on the closer ones rather than the further ones. And looking in the far back of and Headcrab's base, Andreas did have a bomber that had landed, but that's disappeared now. So I'm assuming that was shot down.
So really good vision by both players. 1 Aventail moving by Andreas down the west lane. Looks like there wouldn't be any trouble cleaning that up if it does arrive. Andreas has fixed his power problem. Yep.
Yeah, there's still that skitter there from Andreas as well, just keeping an eye on which factories are being produced, just on the edge of its vision. And he can see
Yep.
there 3 vehicles, so he's going to want to start countering that. He even sees the Infernos coming out as well, so he knows it's very heavy vehicles that Headcrab is likely to be going. There's not too much air at all there, really, if I'm honest.
Still doesn't have vision of that skitter over in his expansion there of Andreas. I think he's about to get it, and he does spot that, and I don't know if he is paying attention to it because he's got everything queued up, all those caps like that. So you can see all the queued up stuff all the time by popular request. And we've got the Canary Aventail in the west lane, which is about to die a horrible and brutal death. And sure enough, it does burn in a fire. And several air factories are queued up here by Andreas, and a couple more vehicle factories. So a lot of production being put out in the south base. Meanwhile, kind of one by one, being built up here in Andreas' north. Oh, there they go. Queues up 4 more vehicle factories.
And 3 air factories, blimey.
And, yep. Blimey.
Blimey. Blimey, mate. Now we're going down under.
Now we're going down under. I can't do it, man. I got nothing. I'm going to stick to this one, no matter how good or bad it might be. Over here in the west lane, a couple of Andreas' Aventails are shooting down some of the enemy Aventails.
And then you got the
And
Infernos.
on the west side, we've actually... Yeah, some Infernos and a few Aventails. A nice unit mix.
Infernos.
I'm actually very curious to see how, or maybe it doesn't know, see how this mix of units does versus the kind of homogenous units of Andreas here.
I guess Infernos could probably take a bit of the damage, whereas I guess the greater range of the Andreas Aventail blob might actually counter that sort of bullet sponge, if you will.
Yeah, well, it's if they close, obviously it's going to go poorly, but they might be able to absorb enough damage. Whoa, moving back. He really wants to keep those Infernos closer. Actually, he's just going to run by. He's like, yeah, go ahead, guys. I'm out of here. And I think that's probably good. Like, playing the tug-of-war game is fine. I don't even know that Andreas noticed that encounter happened. So he's blobbing up there in the middle. These guys sneak by and maybe have an opportunity to do a little more damage. Now, the Skitter, looking at the perspective of Headcrab, can see that army and see how he's avoiding the vision range there. He actually made a mistake there. Lost his intel there. But I think he's going to get a shot. Just getting into view of the other army, they actually turn immediately, and I don't know if they're going to get to do any damage to these metal extractors.
No,
and sure
not.
enough...
Oh, one might go down. And that there was a very close call. Unfortunately.
Almost useful damage done to that metal extractor.
Looks as though
we'll
fabricators were actually taken down on the other pass. Sorry, we've got a few Aventails then breaking past some walls. I only assumed there was a fabricator putting up a tower there, which got shot down.
You make a strong case, Mr. Marshall.
I do. I do not.
You know, Marshall's a great name for the South. I'm the Marshal in this here part. Gonna clean up this town.
I gotta clean up this town. Hence why I challenged Scathis here the other day. I'm gonna get the names sorted out of these Aventails.
You know, I kind of like Bolos. Maybe because I chose it, but Bolo being like a classic tank name from sci-fi, I was really hoping those would stick around a little longer. But I released another build, and he was like, "Oh, gotta change it again."
Is that actually how it sort of works out? It's almost sort of, you know, we have to do this now rather than just a let's see what we can do with it.
Well, it's clearly it's a fan favorite for us to change the name frequently. We have generated so much attention and discussion with it. It feels like a shame not to, keep the flow. Now Headcrab has now won an encounter here on the west side tug of war. He's actually, because that other set of Aventails by Andreas has gone and checked out the expansion, is now moving down. They've actually each got an army that's bypassed each other, but Headcrab's got a big enough army, I think he can just stop this. But meanwhile, well, I guess there's just going to be 2 different encounters. I'm just going to flip over here to the east side, not seeing a lot going over there.
Andreas has a few units by the walls. They're not moving in, though. Headcrab's units moving in, claiming the narrow choke now as well, the expansion going up as well. But he doesn't have any bumblebees, which could probably still be of use at this point, because the T2 air factory is now up, of course, from Andreas. So the Hornets are coming out. We've got 2 already at first count.
Yeah, sorry, we missed that plan.
Not quite to the many threshold yet, but...
Now I'm just going to look at the view of Headcrab. Headcrab has no idea that that's happened. Not on his vision.
Ouch.
He has not scouted it. So meanwhile, in his base, he also has... He has his own tier 2 vehicle factory, or advanced, as we say in the trade. So yeah, that is quite interesting. So they both are actually keeping a pretty good pretty good eye on the expansions. However, Headcrab has gone ahead and captured, for the most part, the east side expansion, and that has allowed him to catch up in metal. Both of them way behind economy-wise, like really overutilizing their metal production.
They're pretty even on the army tab, though.
And a huge air force coming out from Andreas to check out the base of Headcrab. And only a bunch of fighters over here towards the east. It's going to be a giant dogfight there. Huge explosions everywhere, and Andreas actually able to clean all of that up and moves back to protect his...
He sees the commander
Hornets.
with the hummingbirds. The Hornet's moving in now. The commander is sitting duck for this.
Commander's
First
in sight.
shots.
You can see the attack command on the commander, so he's been explicitly
First
targeted.
volley, and that's going to be a second volley and a win. There's nothing
I
there
think
to
that is
counter it.
going to finish it off here. Yep, those are not
GGs.
going to... That's it. And bam. Suddenly, no more Headcrab.
The
Very well done.
The commander explosion doesn't kill buildings anymore. They're just so
no, it
beefy.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so
Something-
that is the win by Andreas, which actually makes it 1 loss in the total tournament each. So we're going to go back to the main menu. There should be 1 more round to determine who gets the better seeding. Of course, they share the glory in this tournament because it was the DoSiDo tournament, and both players can and should feel like winners. But we're going to go right back into it. I'll be looking for the setup here. It may take them a moment or two. We can go flip over